All right, welcome. Today we're jumping into Chapter 23, Part 2 of our series, and it's an absolutely epic story of ambition, defiance, and a world-altering event that, according to our source, literally reshaped the face of the Earth. We're talking about the Tower of Babel, the moment the continents ruptured, and the great scattering of humanity. Let's get right into it. So, here's our plan. We're going to start with the man who kicked this whole thing off, a powerful leader named Nimrod. Then, we'll look at his incredibly ambitious project, the Tower of Babel. After that, we'll explore a wild, cataclysmic event that was supposedly happening at the very same time, the division of the continents. And finally, we'll see how it all comes crashing down with the confusion of languages and the scattering of mankind. Okay, so let's set the scene. The Great Flood is over, and humanity is basically hitting the reset button. And into this brand new world steps this larger-than-life figure, Nimrod. He's the grandson of Ham, and he's not just some run-of-the-mill leader. Oh no, he was a genuine revolutionary with a defiant spirit. Now, the historian Josephus paints this picture of a guy who was just physically impressive, bold, strong, you get the idea. But his real ambition? Well, that went way beyond just being the strongest guy in the room. He had a vision for humanity, and it was a total break from everything that came before. And this right here, this was his core message, and it was pretty radical. He started convincing people, hey, all this good stuff we have, our prosperity, that's not from God. That's from us. It's our own courage that made this happen. He was basically trying to shift humanity's faith from the divine to themselves. So you might be asking, how did he pull that off? Well, it wasn't just through some inspiring speeches. It was a cold, calculated political strategy. He set up a tyranny, making everyone dependent on his power. Why? Because he saw it as the only way to break their connection to and their fear of God. And this quote, wow, this gets to the very heart of his motivation. According to the source, this wasn't just about grabbing power. It was personal. He basically declared he was going to get revenge on God for the flood by building a structure so ridiculously tall that no floodwater could ever reach it. It was a monument that screamed, never again. So all that ambition, that raw defiance, it had to go somewhere, right? It took physical form in the construction of one of the most legendary structures in ancient history, the Tower of Babel. And this was a massive, all-in effort. The people were completely on board with Nimrod's vision. They saw submitting to God as an act of cowardice. They spared no expense, no effort. They were even using advanced tech for the time, burnt bricks and waterproof bitumen for cement. And with this huge crowd of workers, the tower just shot up into the sky at an incredible speed. Now, get this. While this colossal tower is rising up from the plains of Shinar, our source claims something even more mind-blowing is happening on a global scale. A cataclysm that would literally change the map of the world forever. The source gives us this really specific family tree to help pinpoint exactly when this all went down. You follow the line from Arphaxad, who was born just 2 years after the flood, down 4 generations to a man named Peleg, born about 100 years later. And his name? Well, that's the dead giveaway. He was named Peleg because the name itself literally means division. And according to the text, he was given that name because a monumental division happened in his lifetime. So what was this division? We're not talking about a small crack in the ground. The source describes a single unified landmass, one continent, fracturing apart. The Great Deep, the oceans, rushed in to fill the gaps, creating the separate continents and islands we know today. A truly planet-altering event. And the source places this great division right around 2240 BC. Think about that for a second. It's happening at the same time as the tower is being built. 2 massive, world-changing events unfolding side by side. And this all brings us to the climax, the breaking point of the story. You've got all of humanity united in defiance, their tower soaring towards the heavens, and that's when, according to the source, a divine judgment comes down to stop them in their tracks. The reason for this judgment is laid out right here. With one language and one shared goal, humanity had become essentially unstoppable. Anything they could imagine, they could achieve. And from the divine perspective described here, this particular path of unified defiance had to be cut short. So the divine response wasn't just one thing. It was a 3-step process. First, their single language was confused, shattered, so they couldn't understand each other anymore. That chaos then led directly to step 2. The people scattered, leaving the city. And that led to step 3. They dispersed across the entire face of the Earth. And this is where all the pieces of the puzzle just click into place. The people, now speaking different languages and totally unable to cooperate, were forced to scatter from Babel. And where did they end up? They spread out across a planet that had, at that very moment, been broken up into separate continents. The political rupture at Babel happened at the same time as the geological rupture of the Earth. So the story leaves us with this powerful, incredible image, a civilization that was once totally unified, suddenly broken apart by language and geography, which led to all the diverse nations and cultures we have today. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If humanity was once united in its defiance, what does this great scattering mean for all of our divisions today? And what does it say about our potential for the future?